it also is such a big anti-ager. Like you can reverse, I'm not joking, 5 years of your life in one treatment.
If you've heard of the longevity Bible Lifespan by Professor David Sinclair, you know that living well is more important than just living long. In fact, this show is dedicated to the science of beauty, wellness, and longevity. That's why I'm so thrilled to partner with Melrose Future Lab for Season 9 of the Ageless Radiance Club podcast. Future Lab is Australia's first supplement range focused on extending not just your lifespan, but your health span. Available exclusively at Chemist Warehouse, these affordable and science-backed supplements are the key to aging well. Welcome to today's episode, where we cover the complex topic of skin pigmentation and the advanced treatment options that are available today. I'm delighted to welcome Dermal Therapist Danielle Renee, a Brisbane-based skincare expert and the founder of Bobbie Charles Clinics. Danielle combines over a decade of experience in clinical care with groundbreaking strategies in aesthetic treatments. Melasma is one of the most difficult skin conditions to treat and one that I have struggled with in the past. Today, we discuss effectively managing conditions like melasma and pigmentation. Danielle will share her insights into treatments that reliably treat all skin types and the one in-salon treatment that delivers an effectiveness rate of 95% in nearly all cases of dark spots and hyperpigmentation. We will uncover how tailored skincare approaches and world-class research are reshaping the way we address healthy-looking skin and beauty. This episode is presented in partnership with Mesoaesthetic. Danielle, I'm so thrilled to have you on the show. You have a cult following. Your reputation certainly precedes you. And a lot of people speak so highly. And I know that you are now acting as a KOL for Mesoaesthetic.
Oh, thank you, Baha. I'm so excited to be here. As I said to you before we got on the show, I'm a massive fan and I love what you do in the industry. So I'm excited about this conversation.
One of the things that I was delighted to have you on the show is that you're an educator and train a lot of experts, future experts as part of your business model. And I think that pigmentation, particularly melasma, is one of the most misunderstood skin conditions. And I'm wondering from your perspective as a clinician and also someone who educates other therapists on their skin condition, what is the difference between melasma and hyperpigmentation?
Hyperpigmentation is essentially just more melanin, more pigment in one area of the skin. So it's just when a particular spot is darker than the other surrounding areas. So that's hyperpigmentation. It's a generalization or a blanket of all the different forms of pigmentation. So inside, I guess, hyperpigmentation, we have a few different forms. So I'll explain the different forms of pigmentations and touch on them. And I always start off with the one that's probably most common, which is your sun-induced pigmentation. So, when we're going out to the beach and you get your sunspots and your freckles, and that's quite common. That's probably, in my opinion, the easiest to treat. And then you go down the barrel is number 2 is then your post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. In short, what is it? It's just, pigmentation that's become about because of a treatment that you have had for an injury. It could be a cut, a wound, that kind of thing. So that's your post-inflammatory. And then you've got your nasty.
Isn't it? I mean, that you must have so many people who've had the wrong treatment come to your clinic and say, I went in for one thing and it's 10 times worse. That's happened to me. And I became so fastidious about what I agree to. I mean, I have melasma, so even a warm bath can trigger my melasma. Correct device or treatment that can cause that post-event inflammation and pigmentation.
And it's just because of our Fitzpatrick skin type. So for anybody that's listening and not viewing, I'm European descent, so I'm Maltese descent. And anybody with that kind of European background is more prone to melasma normally. You got your lighter scale skins like, your English and Irish and stuff, the lighter fairs, the fair skin, they're more prone to your sun-induced, so your freckles and that kind of thing. But melasma is definitely the trickiest to treat purely because it has got such a strong memory. However, all pigmentation has such a strong memory. It's always going to come back. But melasma is just implanted into the skin so much deeper, meaning it's harder to treat, right? But also, it's easier to stimulate when it comes to doing treatments as well. But I guess for anybody that has some sort of pigmentation concerns, how do you know which pigmentation you have? I think we just treat majority of them as, making sure that you don't go in the sun and that kind of thing. It's all the same kind of aftercare. However, you just want to make sure that you go to a professional that can actually not diagnose it to make sure that they don't do treatments to make it worse. But the characteristics, I guess, of melasma compared to post-inflammatory or sun-induced is melasma is generally going to form in a patch, and it's normally in the upper lip or underneath the eyes or the forehead. It's normally like a darker patch, like a pool of pigment.
I used to have an enormous mark right in the center of my forehead to the point where my ex-husband and I gave it a nickname. We called it the Molokini, which is an island off Maui, and it had the same shape as my pigmentation patch. And you can't cover it because it always comes through. It's almost like a stain under your skin. And can you imagine having a slap bang in the middle of your forehead? And it wasn't it was before I got pregnant. It was in my early 30s that I had it. And I didn't get rid of it until 8 years ago when I had the mesoaesthetic Cosmelan.
The Cosmelan.
It's the only thing that's ever worked. It was a one and done.
See?
And so for me to have this conversation and to introduce the things that do work and to talk about the things that most certainly do not work is so exciting. And I'm so delighted to have someone who really understands that specific treatment that worked so effectively for me on the show. It's very exciting. Can you talk about, you talked about where it appears. Can you talk about the triggers as well?
Yeah, normally hormonal triggers. It can be genetic as well. Like normally they say statistics show 1 in 3 people, it forms from a genetic side. So again, it's going back to that heritage of,
I'm
skin type and stuff.
I'm Iranian and we're absolutely prone to melasma.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, definitely hormonal, pregnancies, contraceptive. So yeah, they're the main things that kind of start it, I guess. But yeah, there's many things that can make it worse for sure.
Can you talk about aesthetic treatments that you think are the absolute no-no and perhaps were always just bumped into a treatment for hyperpigmentation or melasma that were misunderstood and have probably created more damage than good?
Yeah, and I don't
Without having to name device
yeah,
names.
and I don't want to upset anybody, but yeah, it's for me personally, and I want to share my personal story with pigmentation just so people understand. Like, I've had it practically my whole life. Well, obviously, adult life. I am a massive sun lover and I will still continue to go to the beach. It makes me feel good. However, I wear all the hats and, SPF, etc. So I have performed Cosmelan on my skin probably 6 to 8 times. I have also had everything under the sun. I've had skin needling, I've had fractional, I've had CO2 lasers, fully ablative, like the whole.
You do have baby skin, I have to say. I mean, like you are a
Thank you. Thank you. I've actually been having a lot of troubles with it lately, but I've been going into the clinic a couple of times a week to get it at bay. I'm like, I'm a skin therapist. My skin needs to be great. But thank you. So yeah, going back to the question is I wanted to share the story of I wanted ablative. Wanted to get rid of some scarring and some skin tightening and stuff. So I went to a dermatologist because we don't actually stock lasers. We don't use lasers at Bobbie Charles. And so I went to a derm and I said to him, look, I'm prone to pigment. Can you put me on some sort of tyrosinase inhibitor or whatever first? And he was like, yeah, you'll be fine. He gave me a tablet form of it. But I don't know if we can share pictures throughout where you put your videos or whatever, but I wish I could show the viewers. I was literally stamped from post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, like a massive stamp. And Cosmelan got rid of it in one hit. And honestly,
for me, it was one hit too. One hit.
Hit wonder. That's what everyone wants. Yeah, honestly.
It's an intense treatment. We're not going to sugarcoat it. It's a 1-day treatment. Like it takes a day of your life, but for the best skin of your life. Like I can genuinely say. And The first treatment I ever had for for melasma was a fractional laser. I looked like a baby for the first month. But then what it did to my melasma was cruel and unusual, and a derm
Horrible.
treatment. And I had that treatment, it would have been 15 years ago now. And then it took me 8 years from that time to learn about Cosmelan. And so for 8 years of my life, I had just the worst pigmentation and just the worst melasma that would be triggered by sitting in front of a fire, sitting under a heat lamp in a restaurant, getting into a hot bath, having spicy food. Anything that caused heat after I'd had that fractional treatment was like a disaster. My skin just was so traumatized by it. As you said it really beautifully. Your skin remembers. For me, this podcast in particular is a real education piece to know and keep an eye on. If you do have melasma or hyperpigmentation, do a bit of self-advocacy and make sure that you're keeping a record of what you think triggers it most. UV? Is it lack of sleep? Is it what you eat? Is it exposure to heat, cold? Because when you go and see your expert, it can really help fast track. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. All the information is really helpful. For us though, with pigment, it's more of, we ask a few questions to our clients during the consultation process, and it's normally what makes it worse, when did it start coming about, what was going on in your life at the time. It's pretty simple because, I mean, we always say if it's been there, the longer it's been there, the harder it is to get away. So as soon as you can, start treating it. And yeah, if there's something in particular that made it worse, like pregnancy, and how long ago was that pregnancy? But your skin might actually calm down anyway over the next couple of months, 3 to 6 months after, like postpartum anyway. So do you need such an intense treatment? Maybe not. But for me, Cosmelan's always the go-to, and I want a result fast. And it's just, there's nothing else like it on the market. And we do stock other brands, and I'm still sold on Cosmelan. Yeah.
So for me, it's interesting you should say that, because I think that I love what the conversation we had before we started recording is that, you are a clinic that has multiple modalities, multiple treatment options. And the path that I went down on, I started with some peels, then I had a little bit of microneedling, and then energy-based devices. And it wasn't, do you know how I actually was introduced to Cosmelan by the PR for Mesoaesthetic. And she looked at my skin one time and she said, have you ever had Cosmelan? And I said, I don't even know what Cosmelan is. And I was using the Mesoaesthetic, the SPF 50. So I
Mhm.
knew, but because it had a different name, the treatment had a different name, I didn't know they were one and the same. But the SPF product was the only thing that gave me absolute blanket protection. Nothing could get in. And it also had a good tint that made the melasma kind of fade into the background, which was really a challenge for me. So, but the other treatment that I tried with a dermatologist was hydroquinone preparation.
Mhm.
And I actually had that in the lead up to my wedding because I just did not want to have a big splotch on my forehead. I'm wondering if you could speak to some of the other kind of treatments and then what they are and then what the Cosmelan peel is.
Yeah. Let me step back one, because I feel like we didn't finish the last question. Is you asked me what treatments are normally like a no-go. And
Yes,
for
the triggers.
me, you're right. For me, it is just, this is me personally. I will never be touched with a laser device or an IPL device. It's just a no for me. Ever. Even skin needling, I'm very cautious, like who performs it on me. Obviously, my team do, so I'm fine. Like, skin needling, you want to be performing it very, very superficially. And at Bobbie Charles, we use like infusions to ensure it's got all your depigmentation solutions in it. That way it decreases that risk. So they're the things that for me are not even are like RF sometimes, like the heat, any heat activated devices. I'm like, it's just a no for me. I've got other tools in my toolkit. And that's why we don't spend 300,000 or 400,000 on a laser when we've got Cosmelan. It's like, that's my client, is pigmentation.
What about LED light and light laser? Like, do you like that on?
Absolutely. However, depending on the wavelength, like our device, we have the Heal Light 2. Are you familiar with the Heal Light 2? Oh my God, best. I love it.
Yes.
But specially paired with Cosmelan to repair, and we actually decrease downtime by half with the pre and post that we do, including in the package. I'm going to go into your next question, the hydroquinone. Love it if you want a very quick result. Like you said, you've got a wedding, let's get it done. absolutely. But it essentially can cause long-term issues to the skin like eczema, eczema dermatitis. So it should only be used for a very short period, but it is a quick Band-Aid fix. It doesn't fix the root cause. And
So it
then
doesn't root cause at all.
as far as I'm aware, I'm certainly not a doctor, so I can't prescribe it, but as far as I'm aware, no. You have to, because you can't cure pigmentation. Melanin is in our skin to protect us. So even if you use hydroquinone for the rest of your life, yes, you're, stopping that melanin production, but you can't use hydroquinone for the rest of your life. So it's going to come back when you stop. We stock different peels within the clinic. However, if I'm going to reach for a tool to treat pigmentation, it's just always Cosmelan. It's just, I know I'm going to get a result every single time, and it's safe for any skin type. So it's safe, it's effective, but not only does it give you pigmentation results, like depigmenting solutions, it also is such a big anti-ager. Like you can reverse, I'm not joking, 5 years of your life in one treatment. Like the before and afters, you'll see them on our Instagram. We can guarantee, like it, even for me, like I'm in late 30s now, like it still knocks off years of my life because it tightens, it plumps, it decreases pores, it brightens, it does all of that. Plus it's stimulating collagen and elastin with all the ingredients that are in there. So not only are you depigmenting, you're also getting your anti-aging benefits, plus you're getting your antibacterial, your anti-acne side because of the ingredients that are in it. So you're treating acne at the same time. And that's me. I get breakouts still and I'm late 30s. I've got pigmentation and I want anti-aging. 3 in 1 hit. There's nothing like it.
Can you? I'm sure anyone who's listening is like, these girls are kind of obsessed with this treatment. Let's take it back a spot and say, okay, what is Cosmelan? What does it do, and why is it so effective?
Yeah, that's a really good. We probably should have started with that. But that Cosmelan is essentially it falls under the peel category. It's a really slow induced peel. It just gets applied as a mask in the clinic and you wear it home for either, depending which formula you're using, the new one 6 to 8 hours, whereas the old one's like a 10-hour kind of thing. So you wear that home all day, but essentially it's the world's leading depigmentation solution. However, that's not how I talk about it. It's depigmenting, anti-aging, and you get the breakout benefits as well. So it's essentially a peel, a cosmetic treatment, does have a little bit of downtime. So, for those that are on camera every day or something like that, it might not be the best treatment for you. There is other things.
I have a great update to share from Melrose Future Lab. Hormonal health is a vital hallmark of aging and longevity, and whether you're navigating perimenopause or menopause, Melrose Future Lab's new ultra-complex supplements are here to support you. Backed by clinical research and using advanced technology for effective absorption, these formulations are designed to provide relief through every phase. Find them exclusively at Chemist Warehouse. Always read the label and follow the directions for use. I'm actually going to give a disclaimer here because in my experience, it has a huge amount of downtime, but so does laser, so does a deep peel. But as you were saying before, and you said it so eloquently, it targets so many things without heat, without breaking the skin, and it actually makes your skin do what it's meant to do. So it sheds, and then it stimulates collagen, it stimulates elastin. All the superficial layer of dead skin is gone. The melasma is the pigmentation is inhibited. But for all of those things to happen, it doesn't take an afternoon. As you said, the mask can be on you for 6 to 10 hours. So it's a slow release treatment that you have on the area. And for me, and most people that I've referred to have the treatment, the first flush of downtime is about 3 days. And then it's got a longer tail where you look like you've been on a very sunny holiday or on the back of someone's yacht and forgotten to wear a hat. And that part of it, I would say, lasts for about 10 days. But it's not ugly. It's not unattractive. You don't look like a reptile. You just look very florid, I would say. A little bit sunburnt.
Yeah, and it's not comfortable too. Hey, that
Yeah, I forgot about that.
it's very uncomfortable afterwards. It feels like you've had like a really bad sunburn. But that's why I was like, well, because I did it on myself so many times, I was like, how do I get better faster?
Mhm.
And so that's why we include 1 month of prep and then a month post where you're still coming into the clinic and getting LEDs, and we get some active ingredients in your skin that's already not just prepping you, but it's already removing some of that pigmentation as well. So normally our clients will, I'm not going to promise 3 days, but majority of our clients are healed and no redness within 7 days. No redness.
That
So
would
we
be.
check our before and after 7 days apart.
And the other thing I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, is that there is an at-home care component that you continue to use to maximize the benefit of the peel and just make sure that it keeps on keeping on. Is that right?
Yeah, you do in the kit. I meant to, so I'm sure you would do it at any clinic, but hopefully if they're doing it the right way, that you get your six, I think it's 6 or 7 products included, and I love the whole range. But yeah, so you just need to keep up with the maintenance and stuff. So yeah, it's not for everybody because, and we often say that in the clinic is like, what do you like when it comes to home care? Because if you're not good with home care and you stop your home care after a month, your pigment's going to come back. So the first phase is normally in the first month, you're depigmenting, but then after that, you're regulating that pigment. So to stop it from coming back. So
Do you know who I recommend the peel to? Is older readers and listeners who contact me, and they might be in their 60s and plus. They're a little bit nervous about ablative laser or really, they're just concerned about anything that's device oriented. And they want that big dramatic lift. So it might be that they're going to a wedding or a family reunion or something, and they want something that gives them that before and after wow factor. Pigmentation is a concern, and they don't know whether it's melasma or pigmentation, fine lines. And I understand their anxiety with energy devices. That can, that's fair enough. And downtime might be a very new concept to them. But they generally seem to be okay with the idea of like it's going to feel like you're sunburned because they've experienced that before. So in their mind, they kind of have a sense of what the level of discomfort that might be, but it's not scary. And then when they have it, they say, "Oh, you know what, that was totally tolerable." And, I survived. What are the core ingredients? What are the main ingredients in the peel that give this great result?
And then you've got your ascorbic acid, which of course is your antioxidant protecting against sun damage, which is where pigment comes from, which is awesome. And then you've got your kojic acid, which is my favorite. So that's again a tyrosinase inhibitor. So it's inhibiting that melanin production within the skin. And then you've got your phytic acid, which is great for healing and protecting, because I'm not going to lie, your skin is definitely traumatized after the peel. So you're not only removing pigment, you're also giving it a bit of a hug and love afterwards. And then you've got your retinols. So along with some other ingredients in there like titanium dioxide and stuff for protection against UV. But the thing that I explain to people is, yes, it might be. I don't think it's expensive because I know what it does and I know what's included in the packaging and stuff and in the package. But that Cosmelan 2 product that you use, that's actually got everything in it that you would want. So, you normally use a Vit C in the morning and a retinol. That one bottle is everything. So it's like you're not having to use a million different, serums and stuff because it's all in the one.
Danielle, I can't remember what I paid. It was 8 years ago, but I want to say it's the treatment is over $1,000, right? What is the cost for Cosmelan these days?
Yeah, it ranges between on sale maybe 1,200 if you can get it for that, but yeah, up to around 1,800, 2,000 depending on the clinic.
And you're right that you do want to consider having some, adjunct light therapy or something to reduce the treatment downtime as well. Can I ask you a question? Is there anyone who absolutely should not have this treatment?
Look, they say people with, pregnancy, absolutely no. Or breastfeeding,
All
absolutely
the
not.
ingredients that are contraband during pregnancy.
Yeah. Yes. So pregnancy, breastfeeding, absolutely not. Trying to conceive, absolutely not. But they say it's something to look out for. I can't remember if they have a contraindication on like immune disorders because of their slow healing. However, for us, it's not a contra. It's just, hey, be careful. Let's monitor it. So we just do more LED treatments and we make sure we know the patient before we prescribe it to them.
One of the things I noticed, and I've had feedback on it as well, is that after you've had a Cosmelan treatment, you might become slightly sensitized to salicylic acid or anything else that's really in that family. Have you ever had that experience in your treatments?
No, not
Does it
personally. But again, we use a lot of the LEDs throughout to like increase that barrier repair. And
Yes.
I use a lot of, like, I'm not on Cosmelan products now. I'm on other active ingredients, like post that 6 months mark. And I use every acid under the sun practically on my skin.
What about conjunctive treatments? Do you recommend that Cosmelan would be great in other multimodalities or other treatments? Is there anything that you feel in your clinic and from your clinical experience, if you're looking for reducing melasma and hyperpigmentation, and as you were saying, all those wonderful anti-aging or actually well-aging benefits, I would say, is there any kind of combined therapies that you've had particularly good results with?
Yeah, the LED, of course, but also we partner the Cosmelan with Age Elements facials. Absolutely adore them. They are just so much, it's just all about infusion. We're taking nothing. So we're just adding it all back, heaps of infusion, heaps of hydration, and they have a brightening range in that Age Elements one as well. So we partner it, yeah, with the Age Elements facials, and we normally perform those every 3 to 4 weeks after the Cosmelan treatment. And yeah, it's just leaves a beautiful plump, clear, dewy skin.
I was really impressed. I went to a mesoaesthetic presentation I would say 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And they had one of their key experts from Spain do a live broadcast with us. And she was talking about the amazing work that the brand is doing in the regenerative and genetic studies, what it means to age well, what your genetic predisposition to aging is, and how you can use epigenetics and products
Yes.
understand the role of epigenetics to prevent and sometimes reverse what you're genetically inclined to get. And I think that in my conversations with a lot of experts, and you're of course a great expert on the topic, this seems to be the way that cosmeceuticals are going. They're really looking at skin health and more than just reactive fixing, but understanding who the individual client is and then tailoring a program.
Yeah, you definitely, the industry's changed so much. And I think like consumers are just, being a lot smarter, and, they've got everything, blogs, podcasts, etc. to read. So I think, yeah, the industry is moving more towards a non-invasive or less invasive, like people are wanting less downtime, but still getting those results. And it's, yeah, as you said so well, it's people are wanting to keep their skin as healthy as possible, stopping them having to get these really invasive treatments. Yeah, pushing things out a little bit.
I know that you are in the sun capital of Australia. You're based in Brisbane, and there's a lot of awareness around skin cancer and, sun protection. But is it only ever education about the dangers of the sun? Are people also educated on the phenomenally aging aspect of sun exposure? And that if, whenever I've ever spoken to an expert, a dermal clinician, a dermatologist, an aesthetic physician, even plastic surgeons, they say to me, if we could tell people to do one thing, it's like stay out of the sun, wear a hat, wear SPF 50, wear sunglasses, cover up. Do, has that message got through in the sun capital of Australia? Do people, I mean, you said you like to go to the beach too.
Yeah, look, I'm probably not the best person to ask for this. And I am so honest with my clients. I always say, look, I'm all about mind, body, soul. If the sun truly makes you really happy and you want to go in the sun, try and do it in the morning or the afternoon, because I still think it's very, very, very important to get some sun. I'm not afraid of the sun. But when you sunbake all day long for 12 hours or 8 hours all the way through, it's like through midday and stuff, it's obviously going to cause a lot of damage. But yeah, my thing is just know when you go in the sun, you're going to make your pigment worse. Like it's like going to the gym and eating KFC. Like, yeah.
Is there anything you're excited about in terms of the future of skin wellness, skin rejuvenation? I'm sure you travel a lot and you attend a lot of events and conferences. What do you think is exciting that's coming through?
I actually, again, I'm probably not the best person to ask, just purely because I really stay in my lane with what I know already works. Like, I'm not a big one, and I train this in my consulting, is don't be pulled to every new thing that's in the industry. But for me, like, I just trust my suppliers that I have, and, I'm always keeping up to date with that. But I know with the mesoaesthetic line, as you said, they're always advancing and they're always modifying their ingredients. And I just love what they're about. So I know that there's always something around the corner with them. I trust them immensely.
In terms of, you talked before about, having multiple brands in your clinic and making sure that you have a toolkit that is as individual as the individual you're treating. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering, when you are making recommendations around skincare, what is kind of your process for the consulting process, and how do you get to advising your clients on the best way to build a skincare routine?
So our consultation process, it is an hour in the clinic, and it's something I'm very, very, very passionate about. Like, we want the particular clients that we have are there for a long time. They're not just coming for one treatment. And the people that book the consultation are normally people that are wanting real results. And so with our consultation, you get a 3-month treatment plan, a full skincare, like home care kit, not included in the price, of course, like you get it prescribed to you. And we also include the LED facial as well. That way you get a facial on the day, but also so we can see how your skin responds and see how it feels. Because I think it's really important. I don't think that you can thoroughly do a consultation without feeling and touching the skin to see how it responds. So we do that, but also then while you're under the LED, the girls have some time to actually go aside and put together your treatment plan. But some of the questions that we ask, we go right deep. Like, we want to know even about your stools. We want to know, do you get bloating, hair loss? Like, how much does your hair and nails grow? Like, we're looking at all different areas, like wellness as a whole. And we have a naturopath as well that we refer to. So we really try and have that holistic approach with everything that we do to get the maximum results, but safely.
In terms of, you mentioned that you're doing a holistic kind of consultation, it's an in-depth consultation. Have you found that more of your female clients are opening up about their perimenopause journey, and specifically how that's impacting their skin health, their skin appearance, any frustrations that they're experiencing?
Definitely, definitely. And I haven't gone through it yet, but I know like my older sister has, and it was horrible to watch her go through it. So I think just, having a space where they know that they can feel comfortable. Like, I've got makeup on today, but we barely wear makeup in the clinic. And, there's just no question that's silly. And we're so big on, yes, we provide incredible results and a great service, but first and foremost, we're there to connect with our clients and make sure they feel comfortable. So, but yeah, it's a hard journey for women to go through, right? We've got it hard. We really do. Yeah. But yeah,
The pigmentation and melasma during perimenopause, because you said rightly so that one of the big triggers is hormonal fluctuations and changes. Have you noticed a particular shift or an impact on pigment? And, do
mm,
you get a new cohort? You have people who have experienced melasma or pigmentation as a result of pregnancy, but then the next big hormonal event in most women's lives is menopause or perimenopause.
mm,
Do you see a change in the pigmentation profile at that?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing, we do see a slight lift, not as much as when people are pregnant.
Right.
It's nice. Our industry is so cool because you get to like support, people through teenage acne, and then they go through pregnancy and they've got pigmentation and acne. And then, they go through their, 30s and 40s and they're getting dry or whatever. And then they get premenopausal and hello pigment and hello dryness. Like, that's the biggest thing that we treat for menopausal women, is just that dehydration and the lack of lipids within the skin. Yeah.
You mentioned that, Cosmelan in particular is a benefit treatment. One of the things I think you said was scarring. Um, so pigmentation from scarring. We talked about that at the beginning of the episode. Can you talk to me about how Cosmelan might be helpful in treating scarring post-surgery or post-acne? That would be really,
Mhm.
even as you said, from device, like you had a post device scarring, and
Mm.
you were able to have that pigment and trauma, I guess, that visible trauma erased.
Yeah, definitely post-inflammatory, it's my number one go-to. And even if anyone's listening to this, going, where do I go? The product itself, I'm doing myself out of business here, but the product itself doesn't change. And you can't muck it up as a service provider, as a therapist. It's you're applying it like a mask. It's not rocket science. However, the support that you have afterwards and before and your maintenance as a skin coach is very important. So that's the part that changes.
Sure. So we were talking about post acne, post
Scarring,
surgery.
sorry, yes, let me go back. So, yeah, going back to your question, is great for post-inflammatory scarring. I'm not going to call it scarring. I'm going to call it pigment. It's probably not my go-to for scarring. There's other things that I would choose as my first go-to.
Because scarring is like irregularity of the skin and the tissue. You're quite right. But
Yeah,
Cosmelan is for pigment. That's what.
yes. It's not, I'm not telling you it's not going to help your scars. It definitely does. However, you're wanting a different modality for. If your number one concern is scarring, I'd probably use something else in my toolkit. But pigment, anti-aging, or aging well, definitely Cosmelan.
One last question. It's regarding male clients and also spot treatment of Cosmelan. So my first question is, do you treat men with Cosmelan, and what do they enjoy it? Are they okay with it? Because as we said, it is an intense treatment. So it's not, if you're a novice at skincare, a novice at coming to a clinic and having treatments, it might be jumping the shark as your first treatment. And sometimes the boys haven't had so many things like we have had.
Yeah, boys are such wussies, hey. I definitely think men don't need it as much purely because of the statistics around pigmentation and melasma. Women are more prone to it, unfortunately. But yes, do and can treat men, but not as popular.
And can you spot treat using Cosmelan? So say, for example, I had my melasma just on my forehead, but I had the treatment across my entire face, because when they looked under the Visier lamp, they could see that I had melasma all through my face, but, it was more prominent on my forehead. But I do have it. I have it, on my cheeks, and I even have it here. So I'm glad that I had the full face. But do you ever just say, you know what, we're just going to treat your neck or just your forehead or just your décolletage?
Nah, I'm just like mesmerized by you at the minute. I'm like, you are just so beautiful. I was just watching your face structure then. You're just so gifted. But no, in answer to your question, we don't spot treat. Why would you when you're paying for the whole product anyway, and you can do the anti-aging on the whole face? So that we don't spot treat purely because of the cost, because you still have to pay the same price and your forehead's going to look different. So we'll take a couple of years off you up here. It's not just reducing the pigment. It's going to be really tight and glowy and plump, and then this is going to start getting a bit funky. So they've done the right thing, the whole face always. But Cosmelan is only for the face. So you're not meant to perform it on the neck and the deck.
But there's a new product coming from Mesoaesthetic, which tricks you down there.
Oh,
it's called Dermal, and it is Cosmelan. It's the same type of thing. It's from the same company for intimate pigmentation. And we did a feature on it on the site. It is remarkable. And I have to say, Danielle, it is one of the most requested concerns that I get DMs for. And people are so embarrassed and mortified to ask about it. So it might be pigmentation due to hormones or being on HRT or going off the pill. But your intimate areas can have hyperpigmentation, and it's a hard area to treat. It's sensitive. You don't want to bleach it. You don't want to irritate the skin. And I think it's amazing that a brand that's got authority in this space has now come to a solution for intimate areas. So even pigmentation from chafing that could happen, or in your inner thighs, and it's remarkable. I got sent this file. You'll laugh. Oh my goodness! Of all the intimate rejuvenation, and it was like 50 vulvas. Oh, well, there's a study in female anatomy, and I can 100% guarantee you, no two vulvas are the same. I totally understood that very that very female thing of wanting and feeling great about the transformation. If that's something that you're embarrassed about, if that's something that you're uncomfortable about, I thought it was a extraordinary new breakthrough in enhancement and medicine. Not to make it pretty, because it's not pretty, but to treat it if you are. And it's really good. I loved it. And the case studies were very compelling. really compelling. So
Yeah.
I'll put a link to that article in my show notes. And I'll put a link to the Bobbie Charles clinics as well. And I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And I hope everybody got some new little strategies and tools out of it.
Well, I hope that we've talked you into not being such a sun goddess. Wonderful to speak to you. Thank you so much, Danielle. Such an honor.
Oh, you too. Have a lovely day.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the channel, sign up for our free newsletter, and consider leaving a review and rating it. This really helps the channel grow and reach new audiences.